Again, my name is Tu Quinn, and I'm an undergraduate student majoring in biochemistry. My goal is to pursue medical school, so ultimately I want to become a physician. And so today I'll talk about two type of projects, one that I've completed and one that is kind of still in the works. Both are under the supervision of my wonderful PI, Dr. Arya Farahi. So his contact is there. And the first project I'll be talking about is Tame Pain, so it's short for Trustworthy Assessment of Pain. And in this project, we explored the possibility of speech-based pain assessment tools for the empowerment of patients. So, Peppy, I'm sorry, you already heard this presentation, this first part, so kind of repeat myself, but yes.
I don't mind. It'll be good for me. It's been a year.
Okay, perfect. Then, so for some context, I'm sure everyone here has experienced pain, right? I certainly have. And so for this reason, it's often known as the fifth vital sign since it's so prevalent, across hundreds of diseases and disorders. And so its accurate assessment is really important for proper diagnosis and treatment plans. Um, but especially since pain is traditionally measured through subjective means, like the 1 through 10 scale, we always see there are a lot of discrepancies in pain assessment, especially among the patient population with, communication barriers, such as young children, people with stroke, cognitive disabilities, etc. Yeah, so in this context, our first research question is aimed at trying to find a way to objectively measure pain to improve patient care outcomes, right? Steering away from kind of the unreliable and subjective measurements we see now. And then our second question looks at speech as that objective measurement of, um, measuring pain. Since audio data is, relatively easy to collect, it's inexpensive and it's non-invasive. And so furthermore, speech is considered a physiological process, right? So there's objectivity to that. Um, there's a promise that we can extract reliable biomarkers for pain from speech. And so, just to clarify, speech includes any verbal indicator, including like non-verbal instances. So there's no need for like a mutual communication when using this method. So it's inclusive to those with communication barriers, as I kind of mentioned earlier. And so that leads to the big question that I'm going to kind of revolve this around. So is there or are there any vocal biomarkers for pain? Is what we're looking at. And this will peek at our collaboration team that I had the pleasure of working with, some from the University of Nottingham. So, yay. And, having a multidisciplinary team was really important in this because we were trying to collect our own data. So, we required a lot of experts in different fields, ethicists, medical professionals, and then, AI and quantitative experts. Um, and so, I want to mention that we did our pilot study in the UK, and then we went over to the US and kind of did or collected a larger um, data sample. So I'm going to be focusing on the US data today. And so this is what the experimental setup looked like. So the pain stimulus is on the left, which was it's called a cold pressor task. It's just like ice cold water. And then the control stimulus is on the right, which is warm water. So sorry, if you can go back really, really quick. Thank you. So each participant underwent four different conditions where they placed their left or right hand in either warm or cold water, one at a time, and once. So each condition lasted for 3 minutes or until the participant voluntarily withdrew their hand due to maybe any discomfort. So during these conditions, participants were prompted to read either or Harvard sentences or pain statements. And so our data collectors saved each of these sentences or utterances as a single audio file for a total of 7,044 audio files among 51 participants. And so the Harvard sentences that I was just referring to, you can see a subset of them on the right there. And these statements kind of ensured a representative sample of the English language's sounds, right? So we can maximize our exploration of vocal biomarkers in speech. And so we also included pain statements every fifth sentence to continuously monitor the participants' pain throughout the experiment. Okay, so each utterance was paired with a pain rating from the pain statements, and the self-reported pain levels were taken as the ground truth for all analysis and model training, right? So I guess I had the pleasure of listening to all 7,044 audio files and manually annotating that. So noting any disturbances, speech errors, non-speech or labeling technicalities in there. And I sorted those noted files into the following categories. And I just want to note that initially we did this as kind of a part of our cleaning the data set, right? Flagging files for any possible contamination. So today I'll focus on the external disturbances category, which includes anything that was not related to the participant's vocalization. So maybe like heard like a click or a beep in the audio. Um, and then the audible breath category, which includes audio files that contained an audible like inhale or exhale made by the participant. And so this is one of the classification tasks that we kind of had that we fit our data into. The binary task, which is split on no pain, which included pain ratings from 1 to 3, and then pain, which included pain ratings from 4 to 10. And then we'll be looking at this for purposes of graphical analysis today. So, thinking back to the categories thing, when we fit the audible breath category into this classification task, we can see that it has a pretty notable deviance from that baseline task that's on the left. So this could indicate a potential signal relating possibly more pronounced respiratory exertion to pain, right? And this is interesting because, like I said, initially hearing audible breath and marking that as an annotation was seen as like a possible contaminant, but here we actually see that we can extract a signal from it, so to potentially aid in pain detection. So looking at the external disturbances category, we also see a deviance from the baseline graph, right? But this didn't really make sense to us, right? Because anything unrelated to the speaker's vocalization, um, like a click or a beep, it should not correlate to pain at all, right? So after some like discussion with our team, we decided to further stratify this external disturbances category into two subgroups. So the first subgroup of this we called background disturbances. So this was anything we hypothesized to not be related to the speaker at all. Again, not related to vocalization, but anything that's, sometimes like a beep was heard from like maybe an outside source. Um, so this kind of matched our original hypothesis of, background disturbances should not correlate with speech at all. So this makes sense. We don't see a signal here. That other subgroup of external disturbances, we named foreground disturbances, which was anything unrelated, again, unrelated to the speaker's vocalization, but we hypothesized was, in some way related to or caused by the speaker. Like, for example, at times we could hear like water sloshing in the audio, so that was probably from the movement of the participant's hand. Um, and here, right, we see a deviation. So we can attribute the deviation we saw in the external disturbances category to the foreground disturbances. Um, and this is interesting because it suggests that we can potentially use more than just vocal cues to indicate a pain signal, right? We can encompass a larger scope of the audio data and utilize it to potentially aid in pain detection with our modeling. So kind of shifting gears from visual analysis to a machine learning application. This table shows the performance of like their trained data in F1 scores. And if you see the box there, that shows kind of the US performance of about 75%, which is better than, a baseline of 50%, but obviously not ready to be deployable, right? So our study kind of shows promise in using speech to detect pain, but more research is definitely needed to, further this before any type of implementation. And so yeah, like to that point, as the US data set is much larger, right? So that's the one we published. Also, the UK wasn't able to be published because of European regulations. So our data, the 7,044 audio files annotated and everything is currently on physionet.com. And then we also have a data release paper on scientific data of Springer Nature. Um, and so kind of shifting gears a little to transition to my next project. So let's say we deploy this, right? And patient comes in, they complain of pain. Maybe the doctor turns on some ambient listening source that can um, pick up biomarkers for the pain based on the speech. And this is what shows up on the doctor screen, right? So I mean, it is an output, it's an answer, but it's not supported. So how can a doctor trust it, right? He can't, or they can't fact check it or anything. So this leads us to kind of the idea of trust calibration, which is the alignment of user trust with the actual reliability of the system. So trusting the system when it is reliable, and then knowing to not trust the system when it's not reliable. Um, this idea makes it necessary, right, for a system's recommendation to be supported. So not to just give the sole answer, but to give the why behind it. And this can, prevent over reliance, which I feel like has, its obvious consequences, but it can also prevent underuse, which, when we deploy an AI system, especially in emergency settings where you have to make a quick decision, we want to maximize the efficiency that it brings or its benefit, So, yeah, really optimizing the system. That leads us into my the next project I'll be talking about, which is Trust Prism. And here we want to explore how the AI system can support its recommendations um, to maximize this trust calibration idea. And we're only a team of three right now, so it's kind of in the conception phase a little bit still. Um, and so we look at two methods of the support I'm talking about, or attributes that AI can use to supplement its recommendation. So we look at explainability, which I'm sure these concepts are familiar, but we look at explainability where we want to create tailored explanations that support user accuracy, and we also look at uncertainty quantification, where we want to find a way to represent uncertainty in a way that will improve the user's ability to calibrate trust in the AI system. And so this is kind of what we're thinking right now, right? It's still kind of in the development phase, but we're planning to collect our own data through a game-like setup that participants can remotely engage in. So it's like a survey, and the data we're collecting from them is their performance in the task that they're giving them. Um, so right now we're thinking like an identification task, right? Where there's a task with a definitive answer that they kind of work towards getting in a specific amount of time. So they're given a score based on the time they take to complete that task, right? So that's kind of, and then based on that score, they kind of compete for a prize. So that's the high stakes aspect of it. And during the game, they have a choice to access AI assistance, but that's going to come at a cost to them, right? It's going to lower their score X amount of points. Um, so with the AI attributes, and outputs given to them, they have to kind of determine if the benefit of calling an AI system will outweigh the cost of it. So, the benefit being that it might help them complete the task in a lower amount of time and raise their score higher than what the AI assistants will deduct from them. And the cost being like like clicking on that button for AI assistants will cost them like a predetermined X amount of points in their score. So the goal is to determine what attributes of AI best help with trust calibration in a high stakes scenario. And we do like the kind of cost thing because to kind of stimulate the real life effects of, you know, calling for assistance, AI assistance, having trust, there's always that risk component, right? Yeah, to allow the user to kind of know when to trust the AI system when it is reliable and when to not trust it when it's not reliable. So again, we are in our kind of development phase, and you know, Dr. Arya Farahi and my team is open to suggestions, feedback, and collaboration on this if this is something that interests you guys. And I just want to say thank you for your time. Sorry if I kind of rushed through anything. I would love to clarify anything or answer any questions if possible. So yeah,
Okay. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Stop